Seal Marine Park. For decades, it stood as a beacon of marine entertainment, drawing millions to witness the awe-inspiring power and grace of orcas up close. Dazzling performances, synchronized routines, and the seemingly unbreakable bond between trainer and orca. This was the spectacle that captivated the world. But behind the shimmering surface, a complex and often turbulent reality churned. Today, we delve into the story of one man, Zane Marston, whose life tragically intertwined with that reality, ultimately culminating in a harrowing final moment. Zane Marston wasn't just another trainer at Seal Marine Park. He was a true devotee to the world of marine life, particularly orcas. From a young age, Zane had been captivated by these magnificent creatures. While other kids were dreaming of being astronauts or firefighters, Zane was devouring documentaries, poring over books, and spending countless hours at local aquariums, his heart filled with an unwavering passion for orcas. He wasn't just interested in their size or their power. He was drawn to their intelligence, their complex social structures, and the sheer majesty of their existence. This wasn't a fleeting childhood fascination. It was a burning ambition that shaped his life. Zane dedicated himself to marine biology, excelling in his studies and immersing himself in every opportunity to learn more about these ocean giants. Internships at marine research facilities, volunteer work at rehabilitation centers. Zane was relentless in his pursuit of knowledge and experience. He wasn't just learning facts, he was developing a deep respect and understanding for the delicate balance of marine ecosystems. His dream, however, wasn't just to study orcas from afar. Zane yearned to connect with them, to understand their behavior firsthand, and to contribute to their well-being. That dream led him to Seal Marine Park. It was a controversial choice for some. Many of his colleagues believed that orcas belonged in the wild and frowned upon the practice of captivity. But Zane believed that he could make a difference from within. He saw the potential for education, for conservation efforts, and for fostering a deeper connection between humans and these incredible animals. He started at the bottom, cleaning tanks, preparing food, and assisting senior trainers. But his dedication and natural affinity for the orcas quickly shone through. He possessed a rare combination of knowledge, patience, and empathy. He wasn't just following a manual, he was observing, learning, and developing his own unique approach to training. Over the years, Zane honed his skills, gradually earning the trust of both his colleagues and the orcas themselves. He had a remarkable ability to read their body language, to anticipate their needs, and to build genuine relationships with them. He believed in positive reinforcement, in rewarding desired behaviors rather than punishing mistakes. He treated each orca as an individual, recognizing their unique personalities and adapting his training methods accordingly. Among the many orcas at Seal Marine Park, Zane formed a particularly strong bond with one named Nani. Nani was a magnificent creature, a 30-foot behemoth with piercing eyes and a playful spirit. She had been at the park for over a decade, and while she was a seasoned performer, she also possessed a wild, untamed energy. Their partnership was a sight to behold. Zane and Nani seemed to communicate on a different level, a silent understanding that allowed them to perform intricate routines with effortless grace. They were a star attraction, drawing gasps of admiration from audiences around the world. Zane genuinely cared for her, spending hours studying her habits, ensuring she had proper enrichment, and advocating for her well-being within the park. He often spoke of her intelligence and emotional depth, viewing her not just as an animal, but as a complex and sentient being. But even within this seemingly idyllic partnership, a darker reality lurked. The stress of captivity, the repetitive routines, the constant pressure to perform these factors were slowly chipping away at Nani's well-being. Orcas are, by nature, creatures of the open ocean, accustomed to traveling vast distances, hunting in complex social groups, and exploring the depths of the sea. Captivity, with its confined spaces and artificial environment, denied them these fundamental needs. While Zane was dedicated to providing Nani with the best possible care within the confines of the park, he couldn't escape the inherent limitations of her situation. He would often be found after hours just sitting by her pool, watching her and talking to her, almost as if he was trying to reassure her. Subtly, other trainers began to notice changes in Nani's behavior. Moments of agitation, a growing reluctance to participate in certain routines, and an overall sense of unease seemed to be simmering beneath the surface. These were subtle signs, often dismissed as mere mood swings, but they hinted at a deeper struggle within Nani. Zane, however, remained optimistic. Clinging to the belief that his bond with Nani could overcome any challenge, he attributed her occasional outbursts to the challenges of learning new routines or adapting to changes in her environment. He was determined to find ways to enrich her life, to stimulate her mind, and to provide her with the emotional support she needed. His devotion was admirable, but it also blinded him to the growing danger that lay ahead. He was so focused on maintaining their bond, on preserving the illusion of harmony, that he failed to recognize the warning signs that were becoming increasingly apparent. The stage was now set: a dedicated trainer, a magnificent orca, and a world that celebrated their seemingly unbreakable bond. But beneath the surface, tensions were rising, and a tragic collision was inevitable. The dream of a harmonious partnership was about to shatter, replaced by a horrifying reality that would forever change the way we view orca captivity. Okay, let's dive into this. Somber music begins softly. In the background, the sun climbed higher that morning, painting the surface of the orca enclosure with a deceptively peaceful shimmer. But beneath the surface, both literally and figuratively, a storm was brewing. It was a storm that had been gathering slowly, almost imperceptibly, for months, but today the signs were undeniable. Zane, ever the professional, arrived at the pool deck with his usual easy smile. He'd always been an early riser, eager to start his day with Nani, his star pupil. He truly believed in the connection they had forged over the years, a bond built on mutual respect and understanding, or so he thought. "All right, Nani, good morning," he called out, his voice echoing slightly across the expanse of the water. Nani responded with a series of clicks and whistles, her usual enthusiastic greeting. To the casual observer, everything seemed perfectly normal, but Zane, attuned to Nani's every nuance, noticed a subtle difference. Her vocalizations were sharper, more urgent than usual. He chalked it up to her being particularly energetic, perhaps, and proceeded with the morning's training session. The team had been working on a new tail splash sequence for the upcoming summer show, and Zane was eager to see how Nani would perform. "Okay, Nani, let's start with the basics. Tail splash, 3 times, nice and strong." Nani executed the first splash flawlessly, sending a wall of water cascading over the edge of the pool. The audience, a small group of early bird tourists, gasped and cheered. But as she prepared for the second splash, something shifted. Instead of the controlled, precise movement Zane expected, Nani's tail slammed into the water with unexpected force. The splash was significantly larger, soaking the front rows of the audience. few nervous giggles rippled through the crowd. Zayn, however, felt a knot of unease tighten in his stomach. "Easy there, girl," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Remember, we need to control that power." Nani responded with another series of clicks, but this time there was an almost defiant edge to them. She circled the pool restlessly, her movements becoming increasingly agitated. Meanwhile, along the perimeter of the pool, the other trainers, normally a jovial bunch, began to exchange worried glances. Sarah, a junior trainer who had been with the park for only a year, leaned over to Mark, a veteran with over 15 years of experience. "Is it just me, or does Nani seem off today?" she whispered, her voice barely audible above the lapping. Mark nodded grimly. "She's been like this for a few weeks now, Sarah. Little things, you know. Not responding to commands as quickly, getting testy. But today it's different, more intense." Zayn, oblivious to the growing concern among his colleagues, continued to try to regain control of the session. He attempted to redirect Nani's energy, transitioning to a series of underwater dives and breaches. But even these familiar routines seemed to exacerbate her agitation. She swam erratically, bumping against the sides of the pool and ignoring Zayn's vocal cues. He increased his volume. "Nani, focus, dive, dive." Nani ignored him. She propelled herself out of the water in a magnificent breach, hanging momentarily in the air before crashing back down with a thunderous roar. It was a display of raw power, but it lacked the grace and precision that usually characterized her performances. The audience, sensing the shift in energy, fell silent. The earlier giggles had been replaced by a palpable tension. Even the seagulls, that normally perched on the railings, seemed to have sensed the unease, taking flight with panicked cries. Zayn, his brow furrowed with concern, waded deeper into the water. "Nani, what's going on?" he asked, his voice laced with a genuine concern. He reached out his hand, attempting to make contact, to offer reassurance, to bridge the growing gap between them. But as his hand drew closer, Nani suddenly turned, her eyes, normally so intelligent and expressive, now filled with an unsettling blankness. She let out a piercing shriek, a sound that sent a shiver down Zayn's spine. It wasn't the playful call of a performing orca. It was something primal, something raw, something dangerous. Mark, his eyes wide with alarm, shouted from the sidelines, "Zayn, get out of the water now." But it was too late. Nani, with a speed and agility that belied her immense size, surged forward, her massive body cutting through the water like a torpedo. The bond, the trust, the years of shared experiences, it all evaporated in that single, terrifying moment. The storm that had been brewing beneath the surface had finally broken, unleashing its full fury. Music swelled slightly, increasing the sense of dread. The other trainers watched in stunned silence, their hearts pounding in their chests. They knew, instinctively, that something terrible was about to happen, something that would change everything, something that would shatter the illusion of harmony and reveal the dark truth lurking beneath the shimmering surface of Seal Marine Park. They were about to witness the final moments of Zayn Marston's life. The water exploded, a maelstrom of white foam and dark flesh. One moment Zayn was there, guiding Nani through a familiar routine. The next he was engulfed, swallowed by the very creature he'd dedicated his life to understanding. The attack was as swift as it was brutal. A terrifying display of raw power unleashed in a confined space. Eyewitness accounts paint a harrowing picture, Trainers who had been mere feet away now stood paralyzed, witnessing a scene ripped from their worst nightmares. Nani, a 30-foot, 6-ton apex predator, had turned on her trainer with terrifying ferocity. The initial breach, that first lunge, sent Zane reeling. He lost his footing on the submerged platform, his carefully orchestrated movements replaced by desperate flailing. Nani's massive jaws closed around his torso, not in a killing bite, but a crushing grip. She didn't tear, she manipulated, using her immense strength to drag him deeper into the pool. Panic erupted on the pool deck. Shouts pierced the air, a cacophony of disbelief and terror. Nani, Nani, stop. But the commands were useless, lost in the roar of the water and the primal intensity of the attack. This wasn't a training session gone wrong. This was something far more profound, a breaking point reached after years of confinement and pressure. Trainers scrambled for rescue equipment, poles, nets, anything that could create a barrier, anything that could separate Zane from Nani's relentless grip. But the pool, normally a stage for orchestrated beauty, had become a swirling vortex of chaos and death. The sheer power of Nani's movements created currents that made any attempt at intervention perilous. One brave trainer, defying all logic and self-preservation, dove into the churning water, attempting to reach Zane. But Nani was too fast, too strong. The trainer was thrown back against the pool wall, narrowly avoiding becoming another victim. Zane's struggle was heartbreaking to witness. Above the surface, a hand would briefly appear, reaching, grasping for anything, any lifeline. Then, he would be dragged under again, disappearing into the murky depths. The water, once sparkling and inviting, was now stained with blood. The minutes stretched into an eternity. Each passing second chipped away at hope, replacing it with the grim reality of what was unfolding. The frantic calls for help became desperate. Prayers. The sight of Zane's repeated disappearances beneath the surface was a dagger twisting in the hearts of those who watched helplessly. Eventually, after what seemed like an unbearable length of time, Nani released her grip. Zane's lifeless body floated to the surface, limp and broken. The pool, once a stage for joy and wonder, was now a scene of unspeakable tragedy. The immediate aftermath was a blur of grief and shock. Zane was pulled from the water. His body rushed to a waiting ambulance, but it was too late. He was pronounced dead at the scene, his dream of working with orcas tragically cut short. Seal Marine Park was immediately closed. The vibrant colors of the park, the cheerful music, the excited chatter of visitors, all were silenced, replaced by an eerie stillness. Yellow tape cordoned off the pool, marking it as a crime scene, a place where dreams had died and a nightmare had come to life. The investigation that followed was intense and far-reaching. Authorities, marine biologists, and animal behavior experts descended upon the park, meticulously examining every aspect of the incident. They reviewed training protocols, interviewed staff, and analyzed Nani's behavior, searching for any clue, any explanation for the sudden, violent outburst. The initial focus was on potential triggers. Had there been a change in Nani's environment? Had there been a disruption in her routine? Was she ill or injured? Was there some unseen factor that had pushed her over the edge? But as the investigation deepened, a darker, more uncomfortable truth began to emerge. The inherent stress and psychological trauma of captivity. Experts highlighted the unnatural conditions in which Nani and other orcas were forced to live. Confined to relatively small pools, deprived of the complex social structures and vast hunting grounds that were essential to their well-being. These magnificent creatures were slowly being driven to the brink. The investigation also scrutinized Seal Marine Park's safety protocols. Were they adequate? Were the trainers properly trained to handle potentially dangerous situations? Could the tragedy have been prevented? These questions sparked a heated debate about the ethics of keeping orcas in captivity, a debate that continues to this day. The findings of the investigation were ultimately inconclusive. While there were no specific violations of safety regulations, the report acknowledged the inherent risks involved in working with captive orcas. It also highlighted the psychological toll that captivity can take on these intelligent and sensitive animals. Zane Marston's death became a catalyst for change. Animal rights activists seized upon the tragedy, using it as a rallying cry to end orca captivity. Protests erupted outside marine parks around the world, demanding the release of captive orcas and a ban on orca shows. The public, increasingly aware of the plight of captive orcas, began to question the morality of these entertainment venues. Attendance at marine parks declined, and pressure mounted on these facilities to improve their treatment of animals. The legacy of Zane Marston is complex and multifaceted. He was a passionate and dedicated trainer who loved the orcas he worked with, but his death also served as a stark reminder of the inherent dangers of captivity and the ethical dilemmas it presents. His tragedy forced a reckoning, a global conversation about our relationship with these magnificent creatures and our responsibility to protect them. The questions raised in the aftermath of his death continue to resonate, challenging us to reevaluate our entertainment choices and to consider the true cost of keeping orcas in captivity.